As the pom-pom takes the freight train along the inner track, we're now going to have Cock of the North, my probably most powerful passenger loco, pulling a train of 9, I think it is, Thompson and Gresley teak coaches. This is out of era for my layout. My layout's meant to be set in the sort of late 50s, early 60s, but I just think these are such beautiful engines. Some of the LNER liveries are fantastic, and the coaches look lovely too. So here goes with Cock of the North on the outer loop. The first 3 coaches are Bachmann Thompsons, the earlier version, followed by a couple of Gresley teaks from Hornby, followed by 4 or 5 more, 4 more I think it is, from Ian Kirk. The Ian Kirk models, I have to say, they were made by someone else. I made a few myself, and I love making those kits, but I bought those online ready-made. And you can see from this that Cock of the North has no problem hauling a 9-coach train around train set curves. I've got 3rd radius on my outer loop, 3rd and bigger than 3rd, but inner loop is 2nd radius. It certainly prefers the 3rd radius to the 2nd, but it has no problem with 9 coaches. So there we are, Cock of the North pulls into the station, and what you can't see from here is that the last 4 of its coaches can't actually fit on the platform. It'd be like one of those modern day very short platforms where people are told, you know, move to the front of the train if you want to alight at this station. And now a Gresley J50 standard shunting locomotive. The Hornby model is going to hopefully shunt the wagons into the fiddle yard. I say hopefully. This is about take 4, because although a wagon, freight train 26, 27 wagons long happily went around the circuit many times without derailing, when you start trying to shunt and you try and push and pull a bit, the slightly different couplings on the different wagons can cause all sorts of derailing issues, especially as they're about to go through 3 or 4 points and some 2nd radius curves. This is where things can go horribly wrong. And sure enough, it's stalled on an electrofrog point. Bit of a nudge. So apart from that stalling, we've had no derailments yet. Fingers crossed. Got a very squeaky wagon there. It's wobbling a bit. And now we've almost cleared the main line, so that means a new train can come along. It's going to be an oil train, I think. And an Austerity 8F 280 is going through the station to come and pick up the oil wagons. It's going rather slowly, I'll speed it up a bit. It hasn't been run for a while and it's rather noisy, but it is very smooth. Struggles a bit on that tight second radius curve there. And another one. So we've now got a 20 oil tank wagon appearing, hauled by the Austerity 08. Is it class 08? I think so. Anyway, it's an 8F locomotive built during the Second World War, and the LNER used a few of these after the war. I'm going to say this locomotive struggles a bit on second radius, but although it's a bit noisy, it is a smooth runner. And hopefully the wagons will do it justice. The wagons are a mixture of Bachmann and Mainline. The Mainline wagons were bought off eBay at a very good price. The Mainline wagons are really nicely painted and really nicely detailed. Their only weakness compared to the Bachmann models that replaced them was that the underframes weren't quite so good, with the brake blocks not in line with the wheels and so on. But apart from that, I think they're wonderful wagons. And because I bought them in bulk second hand, they didn't cost me too much. Worked out about £5 each, I think. Meanwhile, on the inside track, we're going to get North British, a Bachmann A1 on the go. It's got a TTS sound chip fitted, and it's going to be pulling a 9-coach train as well. I find with some of my express trains that the limitations of how many coaches you can put on is not based on the power of the locomotive, it's on the reliability of the Hornby-Gresley coaches on staying on the track. And one has just derailed and uncoupled now. Let's see how it goes this lap. I've removed what I think is the offending coach. Looks a little better. Yeah, I find sometimes people will say, oh, I never have any problems with derailing with my trains and so on, and it must be your track, or, something like that. Well, none of my kit-built carriages derail. So if I can build a kit and get it to run really well, I'm not quite sure why Hornby can't get a ready-to-run coach work so well. I put it down mainly to their so-called close coupling system, which just seems to me to be overcomplicated and relies on a few too many bits of plastic being engineered in exactly the right shape, with no bits, no little burrs, no sort of moulding bits sticking off that you have to get rid of. Because the carriage coaches I find that derail the most are the ones that have got either the Hornby or the Bachmann close coupling system. Tend not to have a single problem with the Hornby railroad coaches where the couplings are actually on the bogies, or with some of the older, dating back to the 1980s, the sort of toy-like Gresley coaches. They never derail. Bringing the Austerity 8F into the platform now with its rake of 20 mainly Mainline Wagons. It's run superbly, done about 10 laps without a single derailment, and I think that goes to say quite a lot for the simple but robust design of the Mainline Wagons. They've all got just, plastic chassis, plastic wheels, nothing fancy, but they are very reliable, very well built. So just to finish off with an overview of the main station called Gypswick, you can see that if you run long trains, you're always going to have a coach or two sticking off the end of the platform, which makes it slightly less realistic, although I know that happened in some parts of the world. But it can be great fun, just running big trains for change. Though, watch out for derailments. The more weight you have behind the engine, the more likely you are for one coach or one wagon to be pulled off the track, especially if they've got overcomplicated coupling systems like the Hornby-Gresleys. I know some people will say, oh, mine never decouple. Well, lucky you, or never derail. Mine are not particularly consistent. I find that the two, the further back you put them in the train so that there's less stress on them, the better. But if you wanted to make up a 9-coach train out of those Hornby-Gresley coaches, you might be struggling. Not with the old railroad version, they're absolutely fine. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this running session, and I hope you got some lovely presents for Christmas yourself. I didn't. I got some lovely presents, but I didn't get anything to do with railways. So anyway, here is just the last overview of my layout, and I'll say goodbye for now and have a great new year.